Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeanne, Agius, your self-care coach. This is the channel dedicated to prioritizing self-care in every aspect of our lives so that we feel and be the best version of ourselves. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about time management. Last week I posted a video all about mom work-life balance, and I shared with you guys that I have quite a lot on the go at the moment, although I'm on mat leave. However, I shared some tips on some work-life balance, and I got some questions in terms of time management and how we can deal with it when we come across moments where it feels like we just can't catch a breath. And I can completely relate because this past week I've had a little bit of a mommy meltdown myself, and of course that is completely normal, but I want to share with you guys an analogy that really helped me and reeled me back in. So if this is something you're interested in, then keep on watching. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new and just joining for the first time, a warm welcome to you guys. I post weekly videos all about prioritizing self-care so that we can live a guilt-free life that we love. And having that said, I wanted to spend some time this week to talk about mommy guilt. And I know that is very real, and for all those moms out there, I'm sure you guys have felt it yourself. And I've actually had quite a week and a half where I really felt it. I had a lot of competing priorities, and I did post a video about work-life balance. But having that said, even though if you plan ahead and be strategic, sometimes there are moments when sometimes you really have to self-reflect and be aware of actually what's on your plate. So I do a little exercise with myself and people that I work with, and it's an analogy that you may or may not heard of, but it is the rock, pebble, sand experiment. So there's a professor that was trying to demonstrate kind of like the priorities in our life, and he came up with a jar, some rocks, some pebbles, and some sand. And he filled up the jar with rocks first, and he asked the class whether the jar was full or not. And then the class proceeded to say that it was full, but then he filled in the jar with some pebbles. And he proceeded to ask the class whether the jar was full then, in which the class said that the jar was full. And then he actually poured some sand in the jar, which was able to fit into the jar as well. And he asked the class whether the jar was full. And they said, yes, the jar is full. And so what this is a representation of our life. And if we could see the jar as our life, and it's kind of a symbolic meaning. And the rock they represent our self-care, our family time, our food, groceries, things that really are critical into our life and our well-being. And then the pebbles represent things that are important but not critical. Things like the job, acquaintances, friends, things that potentially could come and go. And then there are things like sand, which we call the filler. And those are the Netflix and the social media and things that are kind of nice to do, and probably the very thing that we do to avoid doing the rock or the pebbles. But they're the things that are less critical and less important, and things that probably on the priority list, something that we don't have to prioritize right away. And so he asked the class that if we were to pour the sand first, whether the pebbles or the rocks would be able to fit in. And of course it wouldn't have, or maybe we were able to pour in the sand and the pebbles, but maybe not the rocks. So kind of the point of this analogy is that it's a representation of kind of our life, and the importance of kind of making sure that we focus on the things that matter the most to us, are critical to us. So, you know, that is self-care, if that is doing things that, you know, are good for your well-being, if it's spending quality time with your family, if it's just being present in the moment, like those are the things that matter the most. So those are the things that need to go into the jar first. And then you have the pebbles, your career and your friends and the relationships that really make you alive, your job, all that stuff, you know, that helps pay the bills, buy the good food that you need to eat. Those things would go second. And then lastly, if you have room in the jar to fit in the fillers, because if we were to do that first, then we wouldn't have time for the rocks and the pebbles. So I really had to think about that. And what I do with that exercise is I write down what items are my rocks, what items are my pebbles, and what items are my sand. And that way, every week I can kind of pre-plan and make sure that I'm putting in most of my time in the things that are a rock and making sure that I'm actually getting that in. And then what are some pebbles I can put in? maybe some sand I can put in. So I had to really look at it that way, and I really had to reel myself back in, because I think that when I get very, and I can say this because I'm a recovering workaholic and I'm very type A, and I tend to probably take on more than I should and say yes more than I should, and I say to myself that I can do it, but sometimes it becomes very taxing on the things. When things come up that I can't control, I can get like, you know, you feel guilty. You feel like, okay, well, am I spending too much time doing the pebbles, pouring in the pebbles, and maybe not spending enough time on the rocks? And that's why I'm so passionate about this topic and why I became a coach, because there are things that we need to do in our life to kind of reduce the stress levels, the anxiety, all the stuff that comes that are not so good, that we want to be able to manage. And we are only able to manage those things if we can find techniques that help us with the day-to-day stuff. So I really want to share this analogy with you guys, and I hope that you guys find it beneficial. I always go back to asking for help if you need help and not taking on too much if you can't. And at the end of the day, the point of my video is that it's normal to feel mommy guilt. And when you do feel that in the moment, then look at the rock, pebble, sand jar. Visualize something to remind you of this exercise, but that maybe it's sand. Maybe it's sand that you don't need, or pebbles that you don't need to look at right now. Maybe you're not putting in the time in the rocks that you need to. And if you look at all those things and your pebbles end up still being too much, which is your to-do in your career and all that, maybe you look at eliminating it, maybe you look at automating it, or maybe you look at delegating it. So, right, I really hope that you guys found this video helpful. Like I said, I really want to share this with you guys because I'm a mom like some of you, and I really want to share what was happening in my life and share with you guys an exercise that I found really important, and I hope you guys found important too. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. And if you're interested in working with me, all the information is below in my website and in the description. I'm so happy that you guys were able to join me. Like always, I really appreciate all of you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.